Brett Okamoto with ESPN alongside undefeated UFC lightweight Gregor Gillespie, who takes on Kevin Lee, UFC 244 Madison Square Garden this weekend. But before we get to that matchup, I want to get this out of the way. The call out that you had of Anthony Pettis, one of our colleagues, Chael Sonnen, he had some thoughts on it. Yeah. I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to what he called the worst call out in UFC history.
It might have been. I mean, you could obviously tell I was visibly uncomfortable doing it. I've always said I don't trash talk because I'm not good at it. It wouldn't look organic, and that's exactly what happened. I don't blame Chael for critiquing that the way he did, although I do blame him for throwing me under the bus a little bit because, I mean, we're both wrestlers. I've always had a fairly friendly relationship with Chael, and then I get what he was doing. Maybe, it gave me some good exposure, so maybe I should thank him.
Whose idea was it to bring out the Wheaties box and with the Pettis, try and make that sort of distinction? Was that you, or were you getting some advice there?
Well, no, my best friend Chael Sonnen, he's actually one of my cornermen. We kind of came up with a rough game plan, and we kind of wrote out the main idea that we wanted to get across. And again, I knew it didn't look super comfortable, and it wasn't. It was uncomfortable for me to do that. Yeah. So, I mean, I get why Chael critiqued it the way he did.
You've resisted this call out, like you said,
That's why. Yeah.
So are you done with it now? Is that one and done, or do you feel like?
Yeah, I don't think. Well, obviously I called out Paul Felder after that, but you notice I did it with a picture instead of a video. It's hard to look uncomfortable in a picture,
yeah.
So that's how I did it, and maybe we'll do that again. But I doubt I'll be making any more videos.
Are you finding, unfortunately, that that's a necessary part of being in this sport, that you do have to call people out?
I mean, you saw in that call out with Pettis, I said, I guess it's time to play the game. That's kind of something that I said, and at that point it seemed necessary. So
what was making it feel like it was necessary?
I wasn't getting anyone to agree to fight me. I wasn't getting offered the fights that I wanted. So, it was time to play the game.
You think that's going to continue to be a problem for you, or this fight, you beat a guy, Kevin Lee, who's ranked number 10, that guys won't have a choice anymore?
I hope that's the case. And again, I don't want to make it sound like everyone was scared to fight me, because that's not what I'm saying. I just don't think in the position that I was ranked in that it was a super smart fight for people to take it. I don't blame them for that.
I know you don't like to talk about your opponents pre-fight, but I do want to bring up just in general sort of the position that Kevin Lee is in. I mean, this guy won 9 out of 10 fights. And then he's gone on a little bit of a skid. He's lost 3 or 4. He's changed camps. He's changed weight classes. Now he's coming back down. I mean, what do you see there? Do you see a guy who's got his back against the wall? Do you see a guy who's very motivated? What type of opponent are you expecting on face?
I mean, he won whatever you said. He won however many fights out of how many. He's obviously fought the cream of the crop. He's not in like a losing streak. He's not on a downward slide. That's not what's happening. He's had some tough opponents. And when you fight better guys, there's a higher risk of you losing. And I think that's probably plain and simple what it came down to. I don't expect a worse opponent, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, no, I don't.
For years, the lightweight division has been sort of in this position. I mean, the most obvious example I can bring up is Tony Ferguson. The guy's won, 12 fights in a row. He still hasn't gotten a title shot. As a member of this lightweight division, are you seeing, clearer skies ahead? Do you think that how do you see yourself in this division, and what it's going to take to get a title shot in this division?
I mean, you have to be a little short-sighted. We're 2 days out from the fight. So I have to kind of keep my focus on Kevin Lee and winning that fight. But let's, fingers crossed, hope we get past Saturday night. I mean, I guess it would really depend on what happens with Tony and Khabib. If that's a clear-cut winner there. If Tony beats Khabib, I'm sure that would be a rematch. So I don't know. I mean, it's murky waters, man.
Just a few more for you. What do you think of that matchup between Tony and Khabib?
I mean, Tony could get it done.
How?
Off his back, maybe. Yeah, that's an interesting fight, man. That's a really interesting fight. Because he'll scramble. And I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out if Khabib is really as good as he is. If he does what he does normally to Tony, then he's that good.
As an accomplished wrestler, when you watch Khabib, what type of, you're mentioning a lot of the scrambles, and you're mentioning fighting off your back. Was that what it's going to take? It's sort of getting away from the this idea of traditional wrestling that we think of. Is that what's going to beat Khabib?
Well, I mean, you've seen how many strikers Khabib has fought, and they're not getting it done. So I think they're going to have someone that can grapple and scramble a little bit. And maybe, he's not super challenged on the ground normally. You know what I mean? You get guys that, I don't want to say accept that position, but he takes their back, gets that wrist, and then he traps their legs with his legs, and they can't move. I mean, if you get a guy that really scrambles around and maybe drags him into deeper water, you might see a little different Khabib. But I don't know. I mean, that's what I would try to do with him.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming and special content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.